Let's get rocking and rolling here, guys. I want to give you a short introduction for Simon. He's from Freedom Founders. It's an exit planning consultancy, a business brokerage based again in Kitchener, Waterloo, Ontario. They help owners of small, mid-sized, and private businesses prepare for successful exit, increase their company value, navigate selling and acquiring businesses. Their services include exit readiness assessments, business valuations, packaging, positioning, and businesses for sale, due diligence, preparation. Oh, that's a lot. Matching and negotiating support.
Yeah.
And their core message here is to help founders create freedom, whether that means selling, scaling, or transitioning into the next chapter. Simon, just to get this kicked off here, tell me a little bit about how exit planning works. What is exit planning exactly?
Yeah, what is exit planning? Exit planning, succession planning. It sounds like a scary word, and we like to call it the end game. What is the ultimate end game of all of this? And most owners really don't give it any thought. And especially, I find owners in construction. We work a lot of them, picked up the tools, got busy, got working, transitioned the business from dad, and then got themselves into a position where they give very little thought or influence or effort to what ultimately is going to be that end game, and they leave it to chance. So it really is a business plan. It's not nothing. It's executing on a strategy or strategic plan in relationship to the ultimate end goal or end game.
Mm-hmm.
And but in it is the complexity, right? And the mindset shift that owners have to make in order to get into a place where a business is transferable. We call it transferable. And I'll tell you that of all the businesses we work with, I'm a terrible business broker because we just tell the truth, right? And the truth is your business isn't transferable unless you set it up that way. And that takes a plan. That takes a series of steps. Business owners say, in 5 years, I'll retire. And we say, you'll need 5 more years. That's if you want to get out with a good valuation. You want to put cash in your jeans. You want to set your son or daughter up for success. Because if you don't do it, if you don't properly plan, you leave it to chance, the lawyers get a hold of it. It's
Right.
the failure rate's incredible. So it's good planning.
They say about
Perfect.
95% of contractors that are on the market have a valuation under 1 million, and out of 11 businesses that go on the market at any point, only one's going to sell. Why do you
Right.
think that is? What do you think's driving that?
Couple things. Preparation, I'll go back again.
Okay.
Owners aren't prepared, right? So buyers are. Okay, this is the thing. Buyers are educated. Most buyers have owned a company, have already bought a company. They're taking money out of their jeans, okay, to invest it. And if it's anywhere near $1 million, okay, you put yourself in their shoes. You're not going to put $1 million into a business without having a good understanding of that industry, how the business runs and operates. On
Okay.
the flip side, you have sellers that are completely uneducated. Okay. In the end, you get taken advantage of. Okay. And taking advantage of is an asset sale.
That's right.
And that's right. And that's where most business owners find themselves on the receiving end of as a seller in relationship to an asset sale. Where an asset sale, you're not selling your company. You're selling the hardware, the goodwill, the inventory. Yes, maybe you've built a good name in your community, you've got a customer list, but you get very little value for that, and you get taxed
Hmm.
significantly when you do that. And then you're left with your company that you have to close. You're actually not selling the company, you're selling the assets.
So what exactly is it required to have a business that is of high valuation then? What should contractors be working on and focusing on to get their business to a position where it can be sold for a decent return?
Yeah, like transferable. Yeah, number one reason they don't transfer is owner dependency. And so that's the number one concern of every single buyer we work with. It's okay, who is the owner? Tell me about the owner. Does the owner have all the customer relationships? Pretty obvious, like that's a concern. Well, what about the supplier relationships? Do they have all
Hmm.
the supplier relationships? And is anything written down or is it on a handshake? I go for beers with my plumber contact who provides our copper and our pipe, and I get a discount, right? But it gets worse. I said, who controls the culture in the business? Like a lot of guys, contractors, hey, you come in there, maybe it's a shitstorm, right? You're
Yeah.
just the way you run
M-
the business is hard. And you know what? The contractors you're working with are used to that. So no
Right.
bullshit, no bullshit. But you
Right.
get another buyer that steps in and who's maybe he's more of a softer leader or is leading a larger group. And these are the conflicts. Right?
Right.
Buyers see right through it. And this is what makes a business often hard to transition. It's both the financial and the emotional, right,
Mhm.
effort to be able to have an owner let go. And the buyer will ask, how many hours are you working a week? It's often 50, 60 hours.
It's interesting. We asked the same question
Yeah,
and it's the same answers. So I mean, so what I'm hearing from you is the more you work in your business, the
yeah.
lower valuation you're actually getting.
Actually going to get. Yeah.
That's interesting.
The only way to get more value is for you to stick around. Like the only way we get value, like a multiple on your earnings and get is because the owner says, yes, you know what? I'll stick around for 3 more years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
just an employee now of the new owner.
Essentially.
Wow. Okay. Right.
Yes. Yeah, you just
So
become an employee. But
so
with
the take
conditions, yeah, money is left in the business, i.e., there's a holdback of funds that's paying that owner out. Okay. And if the owner leaves, he doesn't get the
right.
upside, right?
That sounds less than desirable, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your view on the three stages of ownership. What are the three stages that owners go through?
Yeah.
And how can our members and how can the people listening in really start to
Yeah.
adapt and change their mindset towards where it needs to be?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Three stages we have found all business owners in are the transactional owner, and there's so many in construction that are going project to project, and they're just transaction to transaction, right? They run into cash flow issues, holdbacks on construction projects. These are a lot of transactional project to project owners, and in economic conditions like this, it's hard, it's tough, and you're very competitive. You're fighting against. I just got off a session yesterday, and 3 to 5 bids on an electrical project. Now we got 33 because of the environment we're in. It's very competitive. So that's the transactional owner. The lifestyle owner has built a business where it's such that they've got management, they've got a team, they've got other people that are they're handling a lot of these transactional opportunities, but they've moved into this lifestyle because they've got a management team, right? Being able to execute better on campaigns. And I'd say mostly choose what they're not going to do. They
Right,
have this position where, as a lifestyle owner, they get to control what kind of projects they take on, and they don't take on loss leading projects, right? They're
right,
focused on profit. They make money.
correct.
And then you're a lifestyle owner. The third one is the investment owner, and these are few and far between. The investment owner, I say, can take a 1 month's vacation. The business is run and operated better without them there. Those investment owners have multiple companies. They actually have the freedom to buy other companies to grow and scale. And most contracted businesses are limited to a territory. They can only drive, let's say, 1 hour from their location. Okay. And
Hmm.
the transactional and lifestyle owner are stuck with that kind of regional effort. But the investment owner knows that he can open up a satellite office, he can go buy another company. Okay. He can do things a lot more strategically because he's out of his own way. These are the most transitionable businesses, the
Right.
ones that can scale and add. Yeah. Those are the three different types of business owners.
And you said that the transitional is probably the least prevalent in the market, but like
Yeah.
where would you say the majority of contractors fall? What lifestyle are they in, or should I say what category?
Transactional,
They're just in the transactional.
specifically in trades, under $3 million in revenue, transactional, project to project. Yeah, most are transactional. Yeah.
Hmm.
Very few understand how to read balance sheets, and they didn't sign up, right?
Right.
Honestly, most of them to
Yeah.
run a business. Okay. They signed up to yeah, honestly build communities, right? Build homes, infrastructure. It's awesome goodwill in our communities, but they often didn't realize the effort it would take to run a business, hiring and firing and cash flow and everything it takes to operate a good operating business with, and there's often weak in administration and general
Right.
management and processes and systems. And
That's
so,
interesting. So how much does trained staff and like clearly defined roles and like systems around hiring, how much does that impact evaluation?
oh, it's absolutely critical.
Okay.
It's critical. It's a difference between getting 1 to maybe 2 years in earnings,
Hmm.
getting $1 million plus, to getting 5 million. Like it's a massive difference in relationship to the systems and processes because it really is putting you in a position where hopefully, again, you can scale and you can track. In this case, and specifically in trades, it's is it time and material? Is it labor? What it is, your ability to be able to control your costs is essential. And often the mix changes. I go to a bit of a road down here. Are you how much of your business is service
Right.
versus materials? And when
Hmm.
those things aren't properly tracked, in an environment like we're in, where material costs in the last 3 years, copper and
Right.
everything went through the roof,
Yeah.
right? Have you raised your rates to
Hmm.
accommodate for that change? And a lot of contractors haven't raised their hourly rates. There's no
They don't practice job costing is the core of the
well, they
problem. They don't
know,
have
right.
those things in line. I think what
Too
we're
much
talking
free.
about here too is a lot to do with like EBITDA, right? And
Yeah.
maybe some of you guys have heard that term and maybe you haven't, but for the people listening, can you explain how buyers actually look at EBITDA and why 20% is the magic number?
Yeah. EBITDA, right?
Yep.
Earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. And not to confuse things, if you're hopefully looking at your profit and loss statement, your income statement, and this is where
Hmm.
we've got revenue, cost of goods, expenses, and the
Yep.
bottom line, right? At the end of the day, end of the year, whenever you look at those statements, that's your profit. Part of that profit, right, in a lot of cases, especially in construction, the biggest significant factor are two things. It's either amortization, that is the depreciation on your capital assets, your
Yep.
equipment, your tools. Okay. And a lot of owners don't understand this, right? So your accountant gets to depreciate the value of that equipment, those assets that you bought. Okay. I just went through to my office here. I just had we did our year end. I'm looking at thing. This services, all these expenses for computers seems really high. And you got to watch because
Yep.
in there was all these equipment costs. Okay. It wasn't service. So we got to get that onto the balance sheet. And contractors are notorious for this, where they're buying things for jobs and projects that
Yep.
really it's a capital piece of equipment. And that
Totally.
equipment can be depreciated. And that depreciation is a non-cash expense. I hope I'm making it easy to understand. And we get to, in an EBITDA calculation, we get to add it back. So if you depreciated 50,000 or $100,000 and your profit is 2, now your EBITDA is 3. We also get to write off interest, and a lot of businesses don't get that either, especially
Hmm.
construction. They're indebted. They've got debt, they
Right.
bought equipment, and when a business is bought, it's bought on a debt-free basis. So we get
Right.
to take any interest that's been spent every year, and we get to add that back to profit as well, and that forms the basis of the EBITDA. The
Right.
challenge here, I love this, here's the high level side note, right? The challenge in this EBITDA calculation to construction companies is capital expenditure. The argument the
Right.
buyer
The
has is
variables.
the variables. It's nice you've written this off, but look, there's wear and tear, and you've got to replace it. Okay. So there's additional capital costs that are going to come to me depending on what you're in. And if you're in construction, we just sold a landscaping business. And you know what? It was the fertilizers that are eating the metal. They literally destroying okay, they're
Wow.
rusted, the beds are it's things like that. And then the buyer
Yeah.
walks through and he's guys, okay, yeah, this is nice, but I'm not going to give you full credit for
Right.
all of your amortization because half of this stuff I'm going to replace.
That's right.
Okay. And they
So,
challenge the EBITDA value. Yeah.
so what small operational tweaks have you seen make the biggest impact on valuation? Like what are the
Beautiful.
things that like really take a business to the next level and make them attractive to a buyer?
Yeah, yeah. I'm not going to dismiss the owner dependency.
Yeah.
Okay. It is the number one reason businesses are undervalued. It's the number one fear of buyers that owner is going to pull the plug and walk away in 6 months. Okay. And that kills all deals. Okay.
Okay.
And look, I know sellers get cold feet, so do buyers. It's 80% of businesses don't sell for that reason. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things that we help contractors with is really systemizing
Yeah.
and for two
That would be,
reasons. Number one is like in terms of let's say t training a production manager.
yeah.
I've had the experience of hiring a production manager, training them myself, spending hundreds of hours of my time and pulling my hair out
Yeah.
and realizing that, hey, this isn't the right person a year into the experience. What
Yes.
we've done now and what we do here at Contractor is we really document, but also create the training around every single role, every single process, every single
Yeah.
system.
Yeah.
And what I try to tell my members all the time is like, what you have to understand is that this is actually a capital asset that gets
Yes, it is.
considered and removes you from the business. So the
Absolutely.
fact that you're not training your employees and staff is actually what's going to allow a buyer to come in and go, oh, wow, I've got like a franchise model basically here. And that's very attractive, especially in this climate and particularly in construction, because there are so many variables, right? There are so many different aspects of a business. And again, we've seen across the board is that the more that our clients involve themselves in getting away from the training, getting everybody into a measurable role where they can
Yeah.
measure their performance, they actually find themselves further and further away and out of the business, much like you're referring to, right? From a
Yeah.
buyer's perspective, if you had a business where the owner wasn't required and we could hire on demand,
Yeah.
right? That takes care of one resource problem. And
That's
then
right.
you have your sales and marketing that's firing very much the same way. Is that what these buyers are looking for?
Absolutely. And that's the compound impact of professionalizing the business, as I put
Right.
it, is putting in those systems and processes to handle that owner dependency and to do it appropriately. Here's just yesterday, look, we did our year end. I'm looking at subscriptions. I'm wondering, like, it's $10,000 a month we're paying in subscriptions. Okay.
Yeah, I feel you.
Oh my God. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, this is insane. And
Hmm.
then one of my employees, how much would it cost to hire that person? I said, at least 120. Like these subscriptions are covering probably two staff. It's organizing all of our lead flow down into our pipeline, down into our
Right.
how NDAs are signed, like the whole, it's all interconnected. The
Right.
time my staff or new staff, probably another $300,000 investment. So
Correct. Correct. And that's obviously not slowing down. And again, we use a lot of AI
yes,
in everything we build, all right? But
yes,
what
yes.
contractors I think are struggling with the most, and which will be interesting to see over the next few years, is how to practically use AI to build these systems and to have processes in place that work without them. Because that's what we're talking about here in terms of
Oh, I can.
removing themselves from the operation. And I often see my clients when we do time audits and stuff like that, just the
Yeah,
ridiculousness of what they're doing in their day to day.
right.
You wonder to yourself, like, wow, how do they find time to do anything?
Bids and tenders. I'm
Right.
talking AI, man. Oh my gosh, the
Unbelievable.
contracts,
Yeah.
unbelievable. The time it can save you, not having to go to lawyers, having to be able to perfect your own systems,
Mhm.
uploading what you have and professionalizing it and getting it done faster, getting your
Yeah.
response time, get
That's the speed.
more. The
Yeah.
speed to lead is incredible. How about our AI assistant, June?
Mm.
So we've got a trained AI assistant. Okay.
Yeah.
June could be calling up on defunct accounts. Literally, you could have an AI assistant, sounds like a
Hmm.
real human, doing collection calls.
Yeah.
Okay.
We install them. We know all about it. Right.
There's so many things that AI is capable of, and so many more things coming here in the future to
Totally.
help in this effort, this professionalization. And then add to that offshore support. Like we've got
Yeah.
two people in the Philippines that are
Hmm.
working. And so, yeah, there's so many things that are disposable. And unfortunately, so many people, like owners in construction specific,
Right.
are so head down in the weeds and the tools, going project to project. They don't look up long enough to move into that lifestyle business.
There's another big roadblock I think is that a lot of guys get into the trades and they work with their hands and that's where you start, right?
Yeah.
And there's a certain there's a certain reason you're there in the first place, and a lot of it's to do with the overwhelmingness of technology and all of these other things. So I find a lot of owners have a resistance towards it and
Sure.
don't realize the impact that it has. Again, guys are still able to get by, make an honest living without any technology, without any systems as we are explaining them. What I'm curious to know is what's going to happen in 5 years when guys like me are fully systemizing and armoring businesses where, literally we are now in a predatory position where we can go out and if somebody's not cooperating with us in our local area, no problem. We'll just take your resources away from you and we'll let you die on the stake. Right. And that's what AI is allowing us to do and our members to do is again, and it is warfare out there. And I think as what we're going to talk about next comes into play more and more, guys that are on the fence better get off the fence very quickly, or they're going to find themselves not only having a zero valuation, but probably working for some of these companies, right? The next step is the writings on the wall. So you told me a few weeks ago about private equity and it's
Mhm.
aggressively buying trade companies. Why now? Like, why is construction becoming so
Yeah.
popular for equities to come into and really take over?
Because they're essential services. You're always
Right,
going to need construction business, so they're essential. And because it needs consolidation. It needs this level of professionalization. They
right.
see that opportunity to make more money, honestly, and to be more efficient. And
Mhm.
that's going to be it's happening all across industries, especially trades, HVAC,
Yeah,
plumbing, electrical.
big time
Um,
consolidation going on.
Big time consolidation. And they get the economies of scale, they get to run multiple offices, and it's happening. It's been happening for years. So it's going to accelerate. And then you'll be left in a position in your community where you're competing against, you think it's a small mom and pop enterprise, not anymore. And they'll dominate. And we see this
Right.
across industries. It's Staples or Home Depot or
Yep.
like in this effort, contractors, construction companies are getting bought up and getting run a lot smarter. We've got 25 to 35-year-old owners that go and buy the general contracting business, doing maybe say millwork. Then they go
Hmm.
buy the plumber. Then they're buying the granite company. Then they're
Right.
buying, and most owners are unaware of all of this. But what they've done now is created a much larger group of collective services. Honestly, that's what customers want.
And it's funny to your point. Myself personally, we own a few contracting businesses and we're doing just that. We've known about it for a while. And
Yeah.
again, the irony in all of it is we have, let's say, our roofing company that does really well. We have obviously Contractor, but I own a consortment of other companies, and I've been able to buy those companies for next to nothing, like
Yeah.
literally pennies. And not
Right.
only that, because the owners didn't take on any big debt, I've actually been able to put my whole investment that I would put into them right back onto the company,
That's right.
put in our operating systems, and away we go. Now all of a sudden I have a pretty little asset that sits there
Yeah.
that I've taken virtually no risk on.
Right.
And lo and behold, if I ever go to sell, like I can pull all those assets together. So what would you tell everyone listening here about acquiring businesses? Is it a good time to look at it, maybe acquiring businesses versus trying to build them from scratch?
Oh, absolutely. I'd say don't try to grow organically. That ship sailed. Why would there's too much competition in the marketplace? And when a guy can just get a van and start a construction company, like you're always going to be competing with that. So your ability to be able to scale and buy up companies, and it's usually these businesses are between 5 and 10 employees. You can pretty much peg them. Been
Hmm.
doing it long enough, like I'd say they've 10, 15 years, 20 years.
Yep.
And they build a nice $1, $2 million business, but it ain't worth much. Okay. And now they're faced with an event, a triggering event. We call it a death, a divorce, a disease, distress. Something's forcing them to move. And unfortunately for them, and or unfortunately for you, Jay, and others on this end, when you're prepared, when you
Hmm.
know what your business is worth and you've professionalized it to a point, you can roll these in pretty easily. And you often don't need cash. The bank
That's
will give you the money. We would address this by saying to the owner, look, you can go and retire in Florida. I'll pay you $150,000 a year for the next 5 years. That's it. Okay.
yep.
The business is making 250, 300. Okay. Now you take out the rent because you're going to move it into your place. So there's no rent. You take out maybe a couple administrators because it's going to come back into your place. And now your profit just went to 500. You're, you've, you've just made money day one from the minute you took it over.
What we found this route too is like a lot of people and probably a lot of contractors on here too have considered real estate. But if you look at the risk and the amount of capital that you have to put out on real estate
Right.
over the next 5 to 10 years, like I feel like the blue collar trade business is going to be something that's similar, if not equal to a good real estate investment. If you have the systems, if you have the processes, if you've spent enough time
Right.
either hiring somebody to do it or doing it yourself to the point where you don't need to be in the business. And that's the indicator. That's the thing I think is required. You're backing me up on this is like the day you can take a month away from your business and you come back and it's still there. Now you have something. But
Right.
until you can, we're only treading water, right? We're only driving down the valuation of our business. So really anybody that's on this call that's an owner needs to understand that, hey, you got into business to be in business, but if you spend your time working inside that business, all right, not only is it not worth anything, all right, but when you get to the end of the ride here, all right, it doesn't matter about your good reputation. It doesn't matter about all the goodwill you built in your community. It doesn't matter about all the hard work you put into it. Your business isn't worth anything,
No, I
right?
know. And your point about real estate, I see it all the time, right? Owners
Mhm.
are starting to make some money and they think, oh, I need the security of real estate. So they go in
No,
and
you should be
they take
acquiring businesses.
you should, but they go and take this capital because they think they need this security. So they spend, they lever, they get a mortgage, and it's like, why? No, wait till you have enough equity that you can spend buy cash for your real
Right,
estate. You need places to move that kind of profit, and then
right.
real estate's a good decision. But owners often they're doing it way too early, right? And they
Hmm.
should be rolling up 2 or 3 companies. The magic number is make $1 million on the bottom line. In North
Hmm.
America, very few, right? 95% are under $1 million in revenue. You can make $1 million on the bottom line. You can get a 5 or 6 times multiple. That's 5 to 6 million bucks with not a lot
And
of
it,
effort.
and I
And
think a lot of guys are maybe coming late to the party on that. Like when you add
oh,
in the automations and you add in how efficiently you can operate a contracting business with good principles, good. It doesn't
yeah,
avoid the hard work of learning these things, of course, but I
yeah,
mean, it's more practical and it's actually more possible today than has ever been in history. All right.
yeah,
So, like, the reality of it is anyone thinking, oh my God, I can't get to that. Bullshit. I've got customers that I've done it myself. All right.
yeah,
And not to brag or anything like that, but like, the less I spend in my business, the more I make. Again, at the end of the day, at that point, what we became to very aware of is that, hey, you know what? The security isn't putting our money in real estate. It was security was buying up everyone around us
Yes.
quietly so that we're not going to have these capital guys come in and do the exact same thing. So if we just look at what happened with Home Depot and like the small mom and pop hardware stores, that is what's going to happen. Like the
Mhm.
writing's on the wall. We're going to have $1 billion plumber, $1 billion
Yeah.
electricians out there, and they're coming for it, right? Because they do see that opportunity. And I think it's because, again, where else can they go where something's still unregulated and uncontrolled and mismanaged that you could make a buck, right? It's
Yeah.
just like taking the crappy house on the block and turning it into a flip. And in my eyes, that's the way I see it. Is most businesses either you're the pretty house on the street that somebody's going to come in and is going to buy as turnkey, or you're flipping one, right? You're taking something that's needs a lot of work and fixing it up, and now you've doubled your money or tripled your money in a very short period of time. So why
Yeah.
is it important again for guys to get it right in their own business to install these systems? Because it's not hard. It's not, as long as you stay consistent with it, getting yourself outside your business. I spent
Yeah.
the first decade working really hard. Really hard. Like thought that and I think we all fall for the same trap. Doing a really great job for my customers. All really good, but I didn't know my numbers. Basically handed them free projects and all the mistakes along the way, only to realize that, hey, you know what? All that work and all that goodwill goes nowhere, right? When you owe the bank money, like nobody cares.
Nope.
So you better make the investment in the business running well and the business being able to support your lifestyle first. But then next to that is like when you do get into that position where you're making a bit of money, the first thing that I would recommend is that you start securing your local area. Start talking to
Yeah.
your suppliers. If you've got a good relationship with your supplier, they will come to you with deals. They know who's in trouble. They know who's that might be acquired, right?
Yep.
Or again, networking with guys like yourself where an opportunity comes up and boom, next thing you know, you've just doubled your company overnight. And
Overnight, right, is the
decades to
critical.
days, we'd call it, right?
Is that overnight you've just transformed the business, you've just increased the multiple on your earnings. If you just went from, even if you went from 250 to 500, okay, just because you bolted on one or two companies and you got yourself into that position. Instead, you're going out trying to, you're complaining you can't find contractors, everything else. But you go out, you got to spend some time at this, but you go and find that company with 5 or 6 guys. You take the owner along with you for the ride, okay? And what does he hate doing? He hates doing the administration. He hasn't done all of that
Right.
stuff. I know we're avoiding it. We're avoiding the systems and processes and professionalization. But Jay, you're absolutely right. By
Right.
doing those things, you are absolutely setting yourself apart, spending the time and some money and capital, situating yourself in a place that you're in. You have that investment owner mindset. You have the
Mhm.
ability to be able to just now start strategically adding businesses. And you
Right.
don't have to shoot for the moon. Like you don't, you might want to be the plumber or the electrician in your community, but also you could simply be this. You could be the HVAC guy who
Mhm.
walks into the basement and trains all your staff. When you're walking past and you see something like the electrical panel needs updating, guess what? We own an electrical business over here.
That's right.
And
That's right.
maybe it's the same name, or maybe you do it strategic and you
That's the
plug.
way we've done it is we
Yeah.
don't put any names under our name brand. We own 5 companies that are different names. We keep them operating under the same name, same everything. The reason
It's
for
awesome.
that is
Yeah.
that we're now that's how we're controlling our margins. But again, the
Oh, I
more
know.
and more we can be strategic about it, if you quietly own all 5 companies bidding on the jobs in town,
Yeah.
you control the market, don't you? It's
Well,
a
you
simple
do.
game of Monopoly.
Somewhat, yeah. And there's so many other opportunities. Like I said, you walk into the house or
Yep.
the commercial property and you look at the electrical panel or you just ask questions like, any plumbing issues? Why do you ask? Oh, we got plumbing support. You
Right.
go down to the furnace, you replace the filters, and you put a sticker on there that
Hmm.
says trade services group. And here's the numbers. Da, da, da. Just phone numbers if you need an electrical solution, this solution. And it's so messed. But it's what owners want, right? It's what
Right.
consumers want. Give me one call, one number. You don't have to shoot for the moon. You
And
just
speed. Yeah. And they want convenience.
convenience. That's what you're
Yep.
doing in that small community. And now you got a $3 million company, a $5 million company. But the
Right.
cash flow on that, right, is so much easier to manage, to hire
Totally.
people, get the
Totally.
it's a game changer.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what type of contracting businesses are like in highest demand right now?
Right now in our world, HVAC, plumbing, electrical.
I think they've always been the top of food chain there
Top of the
for
food chain.
acquisition, right?
Yeah, yeah. I would say, and then it really depends on the individual markets, and certainly in this right now across North America, it's stressed. If you're in big capital projects like condominiums, you know this, right?
Yep.
If you're boy, retail,
Yeah.
residential,
Getting
oh my God,
destroyed.
it gets
Yeah.
destroyed. There's right now in within a contract within the space, it's the nature of your relationships in in your competition. You're weathering storms. But millwork companies, property maintenance companies, anybody with multiple contracts, cash is king.
What about reoccurring revenue?
Yeah, that's it.
How does that play?
Incredible. Cash is king, reoccurring revenue. Give me something that's cash positive. So many investors don't want to invest in real estate right now. Okay. Investing in real estate, you sell the business, you take the capital gain, you give half of it away to tax. Most of these are long-term holds. You might as well put it into a family trust. And it just gets to a point where you've got so much real estate, you can't sell it because you're giving it all the tax. So you better be
That's
making
right.
revenue off of it.
That's right.
Honestly, just go buy companies. Go
Yeah, no, and I agree because that's again, I hear it a lot from real estate investors as well, is that they're rich on paper but poor in
or
hand.
that's
And
right.
again, here's one thing I can say: when you have a business, even a small operation, $1 million, I've got guys making
Yeah.
750. They're living a very comfortable life when they get their numbers right, when they get
Yeah.
their systems right.
Yeah.
It's not, again, you can
Yeah.
imagine if you took all the stuff that took your energy away
Yeah.
off the plate and learn to get that delegated. All right. And
Yeah.
that's a big transition for any owner is to go from the
Sure.
doer to the delegator. But when
Sure.
you can delegate those things off your plate, all of a
Yeah.
sudden you're left with the things that really give you fire and that you enjoy doing. I often ask if you're really good at selling and you got to spend 90% of your time selling, are you going to make more money or less money?
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer, right?
It's a no-brainer, and there's so many things we can do commercially or residentially, even through these storms, just by once you own the customer, you want that as a repeat. We know all this, but
I think
we
a lot of contractors don't, though. I
well,
think you're making a valid point in terms of
they
lifetime
know it.
value of a customer.
They know it intuitively, they hear
Yeah,
it, they understand it, but they don't know how to apply it, or they don't
that's
spend
right.
enough time to look up and really think. I don't care if it's painting or power washing. Come on. You're struggling in your electrical business, there's not a lot of electrical work, whatever it is, right? Can you seriously, if you had the customers and you could buy or start up and start power washing buildings, like those businesses you asked, what's sellable? Those are sellable. Gutter
Yep,
cleaning. They're
absolutely.
unsexy businesses that are high
Yep,
profit, high service, low variables, like
yep.
sealing driveways. Pick a thing. If
Right.
you're okay,
So if someone was like, someone that's listening in and thinking, my business is in chaos, what's the first step for them to take control and start to work towards being sellable?
yeah, define chaos. We're seeing it all, right? There's insolvency. That's a whole
Yeah.
different story. But let's say they've got 4 or 5 things all going at once. Yeah, there's capital constraints, but we've got employee constraints. That's the
Hmm.
chaos, right? We're going project to project. I'm burnt out. Like that's a recipe for chaos. So we're still making money. You really have to get down to the to understand and start putting in order what it is that you need to solve first. We're not going to boil the ocean. We can't deal with all these things at once. Okay. And often you can't do it alone. Jay, that's what you're here for. That honestly,
Hmm.
that's part of what we do and educate. We at least get you. I say we help you understand where things are, and but we don't fix you. That's your job,
Right.
Jay. You provide
Right.
that consulting
We help
service.
fix, we have to fix the
We'll
operations, the hard
benchmark you. We'll
stuff.
tell you
Right.
what's wrong, like from a transition perspective and how you can
Hmm.
get more value, but that's where we leave it. And I think that's a good service in itself because all
Yeah,
owners should know the benchmark baseline. What am I worth today? You
that's
know,
right.
if everything was to go sideways, I think it's worth 3 million.
Right.
Oh, you might want to, you probably don't want to hear it, but it could be worth 500,000. And that's,
Yeah.
you may not want to hear that, but you need to know that, right? You need to
Hmm.
know why it's valued at that. Other business owners might think their business is worth 3 million. It's worth 15. I've seen the
Right.
exact opposite. The accountant says it's worth nothing, and owners are getting significantly taken advantage of. And so
Wow.
I think from a perspective, you need to understand, I would say, what's one of the first things to do is really get a hold of your current operation. What is its business value? Where does the value lie? And then what problem were we trying to solve first? And get
Right.
into it sequential and get the help. It's Jay, it's you, it's other owners. Unfortunately, most men don't reach out for help.
Yep. I see that all
Don't
the
reach
time.
out
It's
and you know what?
absolutely.
If you don't trust a consultant, then
They're afraid to be vulnerable, right? And again, this business teaches you to be hard and to hold everything close to your vest. But
That's
again, that's also what's leaving you vulnerable, ironically, as it may sound, because when you don't ask for help, when you don't
yeah.
take the time to feel uncomfortable, you're going to stay in the same place you're at, right? That's the definition of insanity. But
You know,
if
we walk around with a brand new truck and the clothing. I get it, and it feels
Mhm.
good. But often it's a mirage, right?
Right.
Inside, we know like we're struggling, like
Yep.
we're on our knees sometimes.
Yep.
But I can guarantee you this: you're not the only one, man.
Nope.
You're 90%,
That's right.
95% under a million in value. Okay. So it's all a facade. Find a guy you trust, probably not a competitor, but
Yep.
and start having an honest conversation over a freaking damn beer.
Yep.
Instead, we're watching a football game. Hey, man, like, how's it really going? Fuck, this economy's in chaos. How's it impacting your business? I often ask the question, like, what's the end game to all this? Ultimately, what the hell are we doing?
I think a lot of guys get into it as a way to get paid more for the job they already had.
Yeah,
And then when they see that it's a real business, now the mindset shifts a little bit. But
yeah.
the biggest part is really the mind. Again, if I could go back a decade, the one thing that I would have done sooner that I didn't do was systemizing the operation, right? Would have started immediately, like not focusing
Right.
on getting more bigger projects, not focusing on all the energy I was putting in myself and being
Mhm.
a star in my own business, because at the end of the day, it doesn't pay to be a star. You know what pays? Creating stars. That is the recipe that I would tell anybody. But
Yeah, yeah.
tell me a little bit, what is,
Let me take on that because
sure,
that's kind of our core philosophy as succession planners, exit planners is
right,
you have to do three things. You have to, one, there's three types of owners, right? And it's this mindset. Okay. I do it better myself. That owner says, I do it better myself. These are the transactional owners, right? These are the guys
right,
in the riding lawnmower, the backhoe. I can dig this, I can do, or in the office, right? Creating chaos. They're the I can do it better myself. And that's why most are stuck under $1 million.
mhm,
You can't break that threshold. You have to move to I do it better with others. Okay.
right.
Mindset. I do it better with others. Therefore, you've got a team of people. Maybe you're already here, but you still got to let go. The best place you need to be is they do it better without me. That's the magic. That is back to the succession, back to the
Right.
professionalizing the business, removing order dependency. And that's a mind shift, man. It is hard.
It's so hard. One of the
So
hardest
hard to do
paths.
because I just want to hold on to it. I love the control, but we don't. But eventually something breaks, and it's either
Right.
physically, mentally, like internally, externally. You're losing kids, you're losing your wife, because you're giving it all to this one thing. And then unfortunately, these are the owners we work with in their 60s, 70s, and 80s who've completely lost sight of it, completely lost sight of it.
Yep.
And we know that if they were to sell the business or be forced to exit the business, they're dying within 1 to 2 years because they've
Yep.
completely lost their purpose. They set themselves up for
It's
that.
so funny you say that, because I went through, and people don't prepare you for this either, but when I was transitioning out of my business and getting to the point where the business could operate without me, a very odd thing happened. Number one, and this is how I got into coaching and consultancy, but no one tells you what to do when you reach that point. We all think about it. We all were like, oh, I want that. I want that. And then I got it. And I have never been more depressed in my life. There's only so many beaches you could go to and so much you can do. And just that, what's your purpose now? You go from this high performing owner and you're proud of this thing that you've built, but all of a sudden you go in there and they don't want you there. And you cause more problems than good. It's no one prepared me for that. And then
No.
I had to find, and luckily I have to find a new purpose. I have to find a new thing to do.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
realize just how much emotional attachment you do have to your business, whether you want to admit it or not. But all your blood, sweat, and tears have gone into this thing. And I often say it like this. I learned from that experience one thing is you can love your business all you want. All right.
Yeah.
You can love it all you want. It will never love you back. So
Right.
you better start treating it like
Yeah.
what it is, and it's nothing
Yeah.
more than an investment. And
Yeah.
again, if you want to grow it, you want to build it, cool.
Yeah.
All right. But don't get attached to it, because it never will love you back. It's not a partner, it's not a friend. It's a
Yeah.
transaction.
Yeah.
And again, when you can get your mind shifted that way and you stop putting yourself out emotionally towards it, you make better decisions. You make better choices for you, your family, and your life. And again, it starts with realizing, hey, I'm building an asset that I'm going to sell. All
Yeah.
right. And this asset means nothing more than to me than what it is on paper. All
That's
right.
right.
And
That's
you
right.
compartmentalize that. And
Yeah.
again, and what you realize is you can do that over and over again without the attachment. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of guys are stuck because of attachments, right? Because of their attachments to staff and employees. But what they're doing is actually creating a codependency, right? If
Yeah.
they leave, everyone's leaving. You're not
That's it.
doing any favors there. It's
That's
better
it.
for you to be on
Yeah.
the outside and or moving yourself out one point at a time.
Yeah.
And I often say when I did it, it felt like I was backing quietly out of a room. And
Yeah.
everyone was talking to me, and then they just stopped talking to me. And it
Yeah.
was all of a sudden I'm on the outside and I didn't know what to do with myself.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
again, I want everyone to
Yeah.
hear that and understand that the second you leave that business, people forget you very quickly. It's not,
Yeah.
you're not as important as you may think.
No. No.
And you being there isn't helping you get to where you want to be either, right?
Yeah. No. Absolutely. Here's some practical advice on how to do this. Okay. And this is the steps that all owners should take, right? And the first one's pretty easy. Start exiting your responsibilities. Okay? We know that we wear too many hats. Okay. Pick one, and that's whatever it is you hate the most. Okay.
Right.
Whatever you're doing, quotes, contract, invoice, I don't care what it is, pick one. Start exiting some responsibilities. Okay. You got to
Hmm.
hand it off. And it's the things you least, that's the easiest. Okay.
Yep.
And just do that more and more, like sequentially. Set a goal every month. I'm going to let go of some responsibility. I'm going to take one of the hats off. Okay.
Yep.
Now, critically, if you really want to remove a hat, you got to exit a role. So if you're
Hmm.
fulfilling a role in the organization, you're the only sales guy. I'm the only guy I show up at 7 o'clock because I'm deploying the guys into the field. I'm the scheduler. Okay.
Yep.
I got to take a physical role and I got to exit that role. That's harder. You got to give that responsibility to somebody else, fractionally, part-time, full-time. Exit your role. The hardest next one is exiting your relationships. Okay. It's the hardest one. And what do I mean by that? It's that handshake with that supplier. It's you got to be able to contractualize that, put it on paper, right? It's the beers you go and have. These are all good things. I want to take it away, but shit, I was having like personal relationships with became good friends inside my company or outside the company. Okay. Nepotism. I got a son or daughter, a sister-in-law inside the business. Oh,
Yep.
realizing why aren't my sales growing? My son's in the business and he's not
Right.
doing anything. These are relationships, man. And you got some bad customer relationships. You got
Totally.
bloodsuckers taking you for cash. But these are the things, man, that you got to start to let go of. And when you do, you'll find that you've got more freedom. This is all part of exit planning. You got to
Right.
move through these roles and to
Yep.
get into a place where you've got the time, you've
Hmm.
got the energy, and you refind your passion and purpose.
Hmm.
And I say to owners, like you're a business owner, entrepreneur, you'll be it for life. It doesn't mean you have to be the plumber or the general contractor. Okay. You might love dogs. Go and start a dog cleaning business. Like literally
Right.
make it the best one
Same
in the
principles.
community.
And again, guys
It's
are
the
always
same
talk. It's the
principles.
same stuff, right?
You,
The
but
same
you've
thing.
moved through this methodology, this mindset. You've shifted yourself, right?
Mhm.
Now, what you've learned, you just go reapply it into what you love to do. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Luke,
Absolutely.
Luke, we worked with 29-year-old plumber. Okay. Sold his business in December last year. Every single advisor, friend, family member said, "You're crazy. You've running a $3.5 million business, three consistently over the last 5 years. You're putting 700 to a million in your jeans. What the hell would you sell it for? 29 years old." He says, "How about this? I'm on heart medication because I work 7 days a week. I have no prospects in marriage or kids. I keep burning through relationships because the only relationship I have is with this company. I picked up the tools, but I don't want to be that 40-year-old, 50, 60-year-old. That's honestly, that's an asshole. I've just I just want to let it go." And he did. And within 3 months, he's off his heart medication and things are changing. And now he's looking at it like buying passive businesses and other businesses.
Yep.
Of course.
Yep.
And this is what buyers want. They want guys that are hungry still, healthy, and take some chips off the table and you continue to work.
Right.
We think that selling a business is a one and done. Never. Most business owners continue to work with the right buyer, and they're going. I got an owner that shows up at 7 o'clock in the morning. He's done at 10. He's
Yep.
just getting the guys in the field. He's just making sure everything's good scheduling wise. He might go and deliver coffees in the afternoon to job sites. Okay.
Yep.
He loves his life. He gets a
Right.
truck. He gets the consulting fees, loves his life. Okay. We got others that are stepping in that are helping grow and scale the business, but they don't have any of the administration headaches anymore. None.
Right.
Others going in, this guy, the plumber, I'll never be in plumbing again. Okay.
Right.
Rental business is what he's leaning into now. Okay.
Yep.
because he had
Yep.
equipment. He started renting it. It's now moving into the rental business. There's so many things to do. There are thousands of businesses for sale right now. And over the next 5 years,
It's good.
tens of thousands of businesses to pick up.
And that's
But
what
you-
I'm seeing too, because again, most of them are held by baby boomers and stuff and Gen Xers, and they're gonna be retiring. And again, what a great time to apply these principles.
But you have to apply principles. You have to be
Right.
prepared because if you're that transactional owner, even a lifestyle owner with your head down in the
Hmm.
weeds,
Yep.
you can't do it. You don't understand what your business is worth. You don't
Right.
know what kind of capital you have to spend. You don't have the systems and processes to run your business, let alone take on another one. So
Totally.
like you just miss it. So when
So
it's
tell
sitting
me,
right there, yeah.
tell me what does an exit readiness assessment actually look like, and what does
Mhm.
an attendee do to walk away with?
Oh, if you're working with us, yeah,
Yeah.
exit readiness, the whole process is quite simple. It's a sellability score. It's an M&A assessment, essentially. It's done by 88,000 of these assessments are done across North America. It's benchmarking you from an industry perspective, okay, plumber in your region, okay, and it's going through the key criteria in relationship to your business and how it operates. We talked about it, owner dependency,
Yep.
customer concentration, supplier relationships, down into systems and processes, financing, how well capitalized you are. And so it
Yep.
takes about an hour and a half, but it does benchmark you and your business and your against other plumbers in your area or other contractors.
Right. And then you would know what you're worth as
Well,
evaluation.
what it does then, it starts to hone in on the multiple. Okay. Then
Right.
we add your financial information to that. Okay. Again, also benchmarking you against your industry. So we get a really good range of value. Now, that's not enough because we still have to do what we call pre-score, your personal readiness to exit. Okay. This is really get into the weeds, your mindset. Because if it's a one and done and you're just going to pull out or you give any indication to the buyer, it's 6 months, 6 weeks, I'm out, it's going to impact your valuation.
For
So
sure.
you're right, cold feet, you're going to get cold feet. You don't have a what's next plan, you're probably going to
Hmm.
get cold feet in the transaction. The buyer's going to feel it. You're 80%
Yep.
of these deals fall apart. So you got to do pre-score, your personal readiness to exit. So important. And then freedom score, right? You have to take all of this information and understand, okay, if I get X number of dollars in my jeans after tax, and I own my house or I still have a mortgage and I got some investments, a lot don't have any investments, by the way. It's all in on the business.
Right.
What do I have to maintain my lifestyle? No
Right.
idea. Owners have no idea. They're often surprised to find out you don't need a lot when you're debt free. Okay.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't need 300,000 giving half of it away to tax. Okay. You need 120, 150,000. Okay. Of just income. We're
Hmm.
selling businesses and owners are getting it's called a vendor take back, a seller note. Part of the sale price is going to then be offset by the fact that the seller, you, the owner, is giving a loan to the buyer. You get some
Right.
cash, give a loan to the buyer. Often it's 10,000 a month. Luke's
Yep.
case, it's 20,000 a month. Okay.
Yeah. Awesome.
We sat
Awesome.
there and argued with the lawyers and accountants over the vendor take back and all the risks. I'm like, oh, come on. We've got secure. What else? What other security do you want? We got security in the business, security in the assets. We got personal security. Just take the VTB. And now
Yeah.
we can't believe it. It's, oh my God. Are you
Yeah.
kidding me? I'm
Right.
getting paid to do nothing. Like he's got all this money in the bank and now he's
Yep. Yeah. And it gives them freedom to make other things. So
complete
cool.
freedom. Complete freedom.
So let's do this. Anybody that's still on the call, and I appreciate you guys hanging out with us, and you want to ask a question while Simon's here, well, and feel free to unmute yourself, and let's have some questions if you'd like. And if you guys don't take them, I will.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just unmute yourself if you want, or we can throw it in the chat there too, if you're still a little shy. Oh,
Hey, this is Chris Cohn checking in from Long Island, New York. I don't necessarily have a question, but I did want to say thanks to both of you guys. I appreciate you taking time out of your day
Yeah.
and sharing some of this wisdom with us. We appreciate it.
yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, right
Thank you.
on, man. Jay, myself, we're entrepreneurs first, man. Like same bought, sold companies, just understand the entrepreneurial shitstorm we're in right now. Like all politics aside, honestly, man, like we're North America, man.
Yeah,
And we've all got to make it through. And entrepreneurs, we take it on the chin.
Yeah.
We take it on the chin, man. All our friends, family think we're multimillionaires, think we got a heyday. We can take any vacations we want. Bullshit, man. We're in the grind and we're getting
right.
ground now. If you're not a contractor getting ground, speak up, man, because what are you doing that's different? And yeah, start these collaborations and conversations. Awesome.
Yeah. We all got to get up and go to work every day.
Absolutely,
Again,
man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you guys.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. And we got to support those people, man. It's about supporting our contractors and our employees. And then I say all the suppliers and the customers and the beneficiaries we lose sight of the fact that we might be a 5-man or a 50-man crew, but we're supporting hundreds of people, right? We're making a
Yep.
real impact on our damn communities. So anybody on the call, man, well done. Keep fighting. But yeah, take our advice, man. Let's get strategic on what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Cool. Simon, how can anyone get in touch with you?
Freedomforfounders.com.
Okay.
Pretty easy. Yeah, lots of resources there. We're on the Skool platform as well. You can find those links. We're educational content. It's what we love to do, and love to answer questions if anybody's got them, both now or offline for sure.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question. So thanks again to both of you for spending the time with us. But I run a bathroom renovation specialized contracting business.
Okay.
Very difficult to scale. And I am looking at maybe buying plumbing company, electrical company, and doing a bit like what Jay is suggesting by learning how to train talent and building systems and then implementing that into businesses that could use it, just like everything you're talking about. How would you say I should use or not use Bombay as a vessel? Would Bombay specialize in bathrooms be anything useful to use? How would you tell me to grow in the future using Bombay or not? Just
It's a
branch out
capital,
because I heard.
right? So you use the capital from your existing business. So think of the money. When you make real money in a business, you have capital, but you've got a choice. Either you hold the capital and get taxed to death on it, right? Or you move the capital into an investment, right? So we use a holdings company. The holdings company then uses it to invest in these other businesses. My corporation, like Bonebane, should never make any or make very little money until it needs to. All right. But if you're moving that capital, and then you invest in, let's say, the plumber, okay, that's going to bring down your taxable earnings because it's an investment, right? And in some cases, you can continue that just like real estate, right? So, yes, you can use that company, but it's more the borrowing power that you would get from it, right?
Yeah, no, awesome. And here it is. It's anybody left on the call. Best advice I can give to business owners that certainly want to head in this direction. Okay. You should have a holding company. Most don't, and especially in construction, you should have a holding company that owns your operating company. Okay.
Yep.
And that ownership has to be through shares. So you might own the business now, you might be the shareholder with your wife or your son. Okay. But that should be held by an independent holding company. I like to call it your investment company. That's it. Okay. So the investment company buys your operating company. That's the tie. That's where the shares are held. Okay. When that's done, any money you make here, you can transfer up to your holding company. That's what you should be doing. Okay. And that does a lot of things for you. One, it gets capital into your genes. Okay. Your holding company is at your home address. So you should be writing off portions of your home, using it for an expense perspective, but mostly to move cash between the two companies. Okay. Stress the shit out of this business if it's making money because you're moving all the cash up here. When the cash is up here and you need money down here, you do a loan. You become the bank. Okay. You secured from creditors. If you get in a lawsuit down here and you got money held up into this company, you're fucked.
It's gone.
It's gone. Hence, you move it up into the holding company. And very quickly, if you're making some profit, you're in a solid position to go and make an investment move. And when you go to buy another company, use the holding company to buy that company. Okay. That's mostly, or buy the same company here to increase its overall value. Same thing though, you're always moving money up to your holdco. It's the number one thing certainly construction companies should do because of the risks and
The
liability.
liability. That's exactly what we say. Yeah. Lease everything back to it. And we say own nothing. If you have anything in these corporations, like you will eventually face the consequences of that. Again,
it's smart money, right? So even your equipment, so all your construction equipment should be in a holding company, and you're leasing it. Okay.
That's right.
It's essentially you're becoming the bank, you're becoming the rental company. It's the same with real estate. Anytime you buy real estate, do not invest it directly into the real estate. It should be owned by a holding company. Most accountants and lawyers would advise that. Any capital you have, you put it into holdco, you go buy the real estate. But unfortunately, in these small businesses, the advice to own the holdco, to own the operaco isn't made it's not made. It's not made. Usually it's too late or when the company's too big. You're 10 million, 20 million plus. And KPMG now tells you, because you moved accounting firms, you need a holding company. The problem
Right.
is it's a lot more costly to do it now then. And you've also exposed yourself to way too much risk. Yeah, and I hope that's answered the question. It's so important that you set yourself up and in that way, because that really puts you in a position to be able to go buy new companies. Yeah. Number one
Very
piece of
cool.
advice we give is get that set.
Yeah. I can ask another question also, or your
Sure.
advice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
please. Yeah, either.
We want to franchise Bombay by licensing the brand to contractors, and
Okay.
then we want to import bathroom kits from China to sell
Cool.
to the contractors, and then
Like it.
also educate the contractors through our proven renovating bathrooms strategy systems. So
Love it.
like a three-tier revenue ways, selling
Love it.
kits, selling the brand, and then selling the how-to. That would
Yeah.
be like the big vision for Bombay in
Yeah.
Quebec. And then, but I also want to branch out into plumbing, electrical. And that's where how can Bombay help or leverage? Should it be like Bombay, bon électricité, bon plomberie? Should I do something like that
I
maybe, or
wouldn't do
should it
that.
be all separate? Or
Personally,
what
I
do you
wouldn't
think?
do that under the same brand.
Okay.
The reason why is
Okay.
it's from a strategic advantage, right? So you got to understand, like when a market sees the same name, all right, let's say you had a problem with Bombay bathrooms and they didn't like like that customer's gone forever. Okay. Vice versa, if you recommend somebody from Boban that to another company you happen to own, all right, no problem there, right? People take those recommendations a lot more seriously. Now, if you recommended someone that's the same company as you, you're going to have some resistance. The third and most important thing that I find is strategically owning your marketplace. Why would you go through the work and effort of owning those companies, all right, if you weren't going to be able to control the pricing in the market? Like you're now a market dominant player, at least locally, all right? Take advantage of that. That's the whole purpose of it. And people, like, again, if you're going in and giving a price and your competitors have to come to your plumbing company and your electrical, are you losing? Play the strategy. The other thing too is that you may want to liquidate one of those assets that aren't performing well. If it's under that umbrella, you can't liquidate. It's not easy to
Yes.
liquidate. So I learned that by
Yeah.
naming my company. I'll give you a good example of this. My company's J. Carter Roofing and Sheet Metal. I picked the name when I was 15 years old. Okay. I have a very difficult time trying to franchise J. Carter Roofing and Sheet Metal. So therefore, I have to own other companies under different names. And I've always preferred that route because it allows you to have, you don't have the view, right? You don't have people knowing that you own these multiple companies. And again, it's much easier to make more money and control your profits if you are the competitor.
Yep.
Does that make
Okay, that's
sense?
what you were explaining before.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. And again, it's up to you too. Again, a franchise model. The other thing you got to understand is if you own 5 or 6 of these companies, you can pull them together as one entity. And again, that's what my intention will be as towards my exit is that I have these small branches, we'll call them. They have to stand on their own 2 feet, okay, without my assistance. All right. The reason for that is they're a liquidable asset. Okay, I can liquidate on that asset if it stops performing, or if I struggle with it, I can liquidate. All right. The other thing I can do, all right, is if I decide I could pull that all in and amalgamate it, make it a nice big company that I'm going to sell to a venture capital for double or triple whatever my valuation is at that point. All right. So again, tread cautiously with that because the last thing I'll say is you want to control your risk. Right. So if you have all the risk on this franchise name, all right, if it fails in certain ways, you've left yourself a few options to go, right? Whereas I've had companies fail lots of times where I have just my original investment into it. All right. The first 2 companies I bought, they failed miserably. All right. Now, only thing I lost was my capital that I originally invested, which luckily wasn't so much, right? And a lot of really good lessons to learn, but it didn't impact anything else that I was doing that was profitable. And again, I could cut that loss without having any damage to reputations or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Far too many owners don't think about the end game. We just get involved, we get set up, we're not strategic enough. And Jay, what you've just covered, right, is you've thought about what am I doing with this? There's a big difference between giving this to a family member, it's generational, and you got a lot more flexibility compared to I need to get the capital back out. I need to sell
Right.
this thing to a third party. And often business owners, this is the mistake they make. They don't think through that process. And then I find like an I got examples, right? Electrical company goes by he goes solar. Electrical gets into solar, and then he goes and buys up plumbing and he blends it all together. Guess what? The solar business just took off. Okay. But now we've got all these other entities in there, which we got to carve out. Okay. It's
Right.
really,
It's ugly.
ugly, got zero value. I got one a call yesterday. I got an $80 million company, and they want to sell their residential and their commercial divisions because their industrial division that's gone into nuclear is what got them from 2 million to $87 million. Okay.
Wow.
And now they're trying to sell their residential and their commercial division. Guess what? An asset sale. They're getting
Right.
nothing for it, but
Right.
$8.8 million bucks. And it's just, and they're trying, but you're literally like, it's like I say, ripping apart plywood. You tear it apart, you look at it both. It's like a mess.
For sure. For
And
sure.
trying to tear these things apart. So yeah, really strategic here. And yeah, great question. Great question.
Yeah, the other one last thing that I'll add to that, what most guys I don't think recognize is that if you go in and buy a business, let's say you might buy a mom and pop business, okay? They've had good returns and stuff, but they have no debt, right? They've got 20 years of experience operating. They're got a clean maybe 10 or 15% EBITDA. You can get it to 20, you can get it to 25, all right? You operate that company for 2 years, all right? You can put debt on top of that company 4 times what you paid for it. And now you're moving on buying the next one. And that's what we've been able to do is just find those particular companies that are in good shape, all right, but they have no debt and huge, again, lines of credit, stuff like that. Again, we bought the last company we bought, it's got a $500,000 worth of line of credit on it. Only spent 500 on it. So when I took that company over, the line of credit came with it. And you're going like, did I just complete robbery here? How is this possible? And I think we're going to see a lot more of that occurring. And if you do this intelligently, right, there is a lot of stored equity that owners are going to let it go out with the bathwater, right? It's just going to evaporate into nothing. And if you're smart enough to get on top of it and you can take that approach, it sets you up for the long term. Again, if you want to have this big franchise model, cool. That would be like the 10-year plan. Get 5 or 6 branches working outside of that first. Prove that the systems work with the least amount of liability you've got, and then use the capital off all those companies to really take it to the next level because it does take capital, right? Like it is a cash game, right? Hopefully we didn't overdo it on that one. It was the longest answer.
You don't buy debt.
Right.
Buyers don't buy debt. So you're
Nope.
selling a company, your debt, they don't buy it. You got to take the proceeds of the sale if you don't have the cash to pay out the debt, and it goes straight to paying off the debt, right? So you put yourself in a position where, you don't need your money. You need to have some capital behind you. I don't want to see you go all in on the banks necessarily when you've got a good operating company already, but you're picking up these companies debt free, and often that's their only advantage. They get out of debt. That's
Right.
it. But you just took a company and then you start carving away rent, other expenses. The guy was taking vacations, had 3 vehicles. See it all the time. I did, man. I had a boat,
Yeah.
the golf membership and all this stuff. You carve all that out and there's real money there on the bottom line.
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
there. It's sitting there.
More so than real estate, I tell you that.
Oh, man. Yeah. Cash
Night
flow
and day,
every
right?
month. You got it.
See, Vosh, I seen you had your hand up there. Did you still have a question? No? All right. I want to thank you for attending today, and I appreciate you sharing your insight. Oh, you there?
Yeah, I got that question.
Sure.
One of the things we're working on is
Insurance policies and self-insurance arrangements.
marketing systems, and we're
No, I think he's cutting in and out.
That's right, Jay. You're cutting out. Yeah. I can't hear him either.
Yeah, I think he lost him. That's okay. All right. So Simon, thank you so much for your time. I know we've gone a little bit over. Everybody
Yeah,
else
it's awesome.
that's still on with us, I appreciate you sticking around, and we'll wrap this baby up. And again, guys, I hope you got some action steps that you can take today and make some real differences in your business. We'll talk soon.
Yeah.
Bye for now.
Cheers, gentlemen.